Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our January 10th, 2024 board meeting. We will start with call to order, or excuse me, roll call. I am here.
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 And please stand and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we need to approve the agenda for the evening. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next is the election of the governing board president and governing board clerk. We'll start with board president. Do we have any nominations?
I nominate Jill Berrigan to remain board president.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded for Jill Berrigan to remain board president. Thank you for the nomination. I appreciate that. And I'm honored to potentially serve again. All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. And election of the board clerk. I would like to nominate Michelle Anderson to continue in her role.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded for Michelle Anderson to continue. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Approval of the minutes from the December 14th board meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Been motioned and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Dr. Sprout, superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Berrigan. Congratulations, and
Thank you.
Clerk Anderson, and governing board members. January is School Board Appreciation Month, and we would like to recognize President Jill Berrigan, Clerk Michelle Anderson, and members Linda Abeg and Dr. Torrance Watkins, who make up the best governing board in the state of Arizona. Simply put, your leadership has a tremendous impact in the lives of our students, our families, our staff, and this community as a whole, and we are deeply, deeply appreciative. Thank you, and would you please join me in honoring our governing board tonight. And we have a nice
Ooh, I like that picture.
gift for you. Yeah, we're going to get to that, but there's a gift at your,
Yes,
at
very
your
nice.
stand. If you want to hold up one of those, you
Yes.
can. There you go.
Can you read it from there?
Ooh. Well, now we all go, ooh, right? Okay, moving on. Dr. Watkins was featured on ABC 15 last night. That is a great picture.
That is a
It
great
is.
picture.
That is a great picture. For providing free eye care exams at the Phoenix Rescue Mission Changing Lives Center. Under his work and his assistant's work, over 40 women received exams to get updated prescriptions and new glasses free of charge. You can watch this at our district website. So thank you. Round of applause for Dr. Watkins. Cheatham students at Cheatham Elementary School will be at the We the People State Showcase on January 12th, in which they participate in a simulated congressional hearing. This format allows students to demonstrate their knowledge of and understanding of constitutional principles. Our students did very well in their last event before break and received praise from the leaders of the program, and they are ready to go on January 12th. So some background here. We the People is sponsored by the Arizona Board Association to promote students' competence in civics, the understanding of the institutions of the American constitutional democracy, and this is really cool, the contemporary relevance of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So we wish all the best to our Cheatham students. Yeah, round of applause. Click back, Butch, if you would. Look at those students. I mean, there's our future leaders right there. It's very exciting, and I know they're excited. And thank you to Mr. Dees up there, one of our teachers in the junior high program there. Paseo Point Dual Language Academy hosted their annual Posadas at the Point event on December 20th. Structured in the spirit of the centuries-old Las Posadas tradition in Mexico, in which people participate in festivities at a family's home for 9 nights in December. So Paseo Point offered 9 activities, such as crafts, games, and student performances for families to participate in across the campus. Well over 1,000 people attended this year's event. I held my second parent advisory group meeting this year, just before the break, and the topic that we covered was jobs of the future, which will be one of our presentations tonight. It was a great, we had a morning and an afternoon or evening session. We are looking forward to our winter parent-teacher conferences with parents. Conferences will be taking place next week, throughout the week, with Thursday and Friday being half days for school in order to allow teachers sufficient time to meet with parents. It is our district goal to meet with every student's parent or guardian during this second round of conferences. Our first round was held in October. Teachers will be sharing and discussing important topics such as their students' grades, NWEA and Ames web data, attendance data, and we'll be establishing goals in collaboration with our parents. It is that time of year again, or already. We are heading into Mission Kindergarten. We invite all of our prospective families of students entering kindergarten next year to join us for Mission Kindergarten on February 5th, 5 o'clock to 6:30 at all Levine schools. You can visit any Levine school, meet the kindergarten teachers there, and see the classrooms. And again, this is one of those things that's already getting us focused on the 24-25 school year. Vista del Sur Accelerated Academy held a career day for students in 5th through 8th grades just before the break. Over 20 professionals from a variety of industries hosted stations in which students could ask questions and learn about how their own skill sets could benefit them in each career field. Students chose 3 careers to focus on and had the opportunity to interview the professional using a questionnaire to help guide them. Professionals included a pilot for Frontier Airlines, and a lot of pilots also own ice cream businesses. And so that's our own Nindy Wadwa, also the owner of Scooptacular, and a pilot for Frontier Airlines. We had medical field staff and a school district superintendent was there. So it was very, very profound. As of Monday, the legislative session is officially underway, and I want the board to know that we will be carefully watching all education bills that are being introduced, and will advocate, be very actively advocating for the best interests of our district. I am excited to announce that the district has been awarded the Arts Consumable Grant by the Arizona Department of Education. This grant provides $187,000 in consumable supplies to be distributed across our staff. Those teaching art, music, band, and drama, as well as grades preschool through 3rd grade, will each receive $1,000. Grant funds can be used on art supplies, materials, and instructional aids, such as painting supplies, props for performances, sheet music, and ceramic supplies, to name a few. We are excited for this opportunity to continue supporting something that is very important to our district, and that is our arts program. And thank you. Ms. Ramirez over there was heading up that, and so congratulations, and 187 teachers receiving $1,000 in supplies. So, another thing that reminds us that we are already looking towards next year is our first job fair. So we will be hosting our job fair for teachers interested in joining our team on January 25th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. here at the Levine Education Center. Participants will have the opportunity to meet with Levine administrators, including school principals, and to have our famous chocolate chip cookies as well that are specially made for this event. And also, board, we will, tonight's consent agenda, we will have a recommendation to continue our referral incentive for teachers or any staff member who refer a new teacher who is hired by our school district. To bring you up to date from our last meeting, the K through 8th grade adoption committee has been reviewing and scoring the top 2 math programs. Those are Eureka Math Squared and Illustrative Math. We expect that the board will have a recommendation at your February meeting. Lots of work there. Would like to say congratulations to Cassie Reisdyke, 4th grade teacher at Vista del Sur Accelerated Academy, and Robert Dalecki, 5th grade teacher at Vista del Sur Accelerated Academy, for receiving your national board certification. Let's give them a round. This is a huge accomplishment in our world. It is the highest standard to which a teacher can strive, and we are very proud of both of you and thankful that you make Levine to be your place to have an impact with your amazing skills. Congratulations again, and if both of you would please come up, we'll get a picture with you and our board president.
He's so cute. I know he was.
And now moving on to our employees of the month. Our first employee of the month is Jen Veeney. She is the K-2 life skills teacher at Levine Elementary School. In just her second year of teaching at Levine Elementary, Jen has made quite a name for herself. Not only is she an amazing teacher, she's also an amazing coworker. In her interactions with her students, and I have had opportunity to see this firsthand, you'll see the love and passion she has for them. The joy she has in her work is contagious, and as a result, her coworkers are inspired and motivated as well. Jen works with one of our most cherished student populations, and the students, staff, and families of Levine are immensely grateful for the love and devotion that she puts into her work each and every day. Jen Veeney, please come forward, and congratulations. Dr. Gallagher, Dr. Leolius here to make a few comments. So you can classified employee of the month is Jose Rodriguez Gomez. He's a plant manager at Desert Meadows, but he's transitioning. Well, I'll get into that in just a moment. But first, I want to say that one of our commitments to employees is to give them opportunities for advancement, which makes this Employee of the Month very special. Just yesterday, Jose moved to be the plant manager for the Levine Education Center. But prior to that, he worked at Desert Meadows for almost 5 years. He was initially hired as a crossing guard and then promoted to assistant lead custodian after a few months, and then promoted to plant manager at Desert Meadows a few years later. Leading up to Desert Meadows' A-plus visit, Jose put in extra hours working tirelessly to ensure the campus looked incredible. It was new painting, doing extra cleaning, and anything else required to make sure the school looked pristine. I'm sure Mr. Ketchum is going to miss you greatly, Jose. We're going to be blessed through that, but we're happy to have you on our campus now. He's here with his family, and I know they're very proud of you as well. Jose, would you please come forward?
Congratulations, Jose. As Dr. Sprout mentioned, Jose has worked his way up through the ranks. We stole him from our night cleaning company, ABM, a few years ago, and he just hung out.
We did not steal anyone. I just want to be clear about that for all the ABM employees that can hear this right now.
Let me rephrase that. He's been on our campus for many days. He was able to transition into, as Dr. Sprout said, our crossing guard, moving up all the way up to our plant manager. I'm a little bitter that he's leaving us, but he's done such a fantastic job. Once a Bobcat, always a Bobcat. Customer service with a smile, really put his heart and soul into making our campus a beautiful place, especially this year for A-plus visit. So well deserved, Jose. Thank you.
This was the earliest arriving Miss Liebisch crew of students. Thank you, parents, for getting everyone here. In case you don't know, one of the greatest stresses a principal in this district faces is, will all my kids show up for the classroom spotlight? And Miss Carter, Miss Liebisch, Ms. Glover, they're all here, and we're very excited to turn it over to you for our classroom spotlight.
All right, well, thank you. Good evening, President Berrigan, Dr. Sprout, and board members and guests. I am honored to be here tonight with all of you to showcase Mrs. Carter and just her 4th grade class and just show you a snippet of the amazing things that our students do each day at Estrella Foothills. So at EFGA, we really provide, our vision is to provide a world-class education for every student that will prepare them for the global 21st century. And tonight, you will see a few ways that we do that. So we really pride ourselves on instructional excellence each day for all of our students. We ensure that students are provided the opportunity to solve problems and to think critically. And we want them to do that at that individual student level. We want to ensure that all students receive instruction that is at grade level. And for example, one way that we do that is providing higher level thinking questions to all students at the proficient or highly proficient level of the standards, and provide then the necessary supports and scaffolds from there. One way that we do this is through text-dependent questions and using thinking maps, and you're going to see that tonight with Mrs. Carter. And we use these instructional strategies and tools in order for the teacher to gather overt responses from all students, and then we're able to use that real-time assessment that we gather to further drive our instruction. So tonight, you're going to see Mrs. Carter use text-dependent questions and thinking maps with her 4th grade class, and this allows those opportunities for all students to really think critically and to meet those grade level standards, provide that world-class education. And so now it is my honor and pleasure to introduce Miss Cameron Carter.
Good evening, President Berrigan, Dr. Sprout, board members, my fellow colleagues, guests, including parents of these wonderful children. Thank you for bringing your kids here tonight. I am honored, just like Ms. Liebisch, to represent some of the wonderful learning that's taking place in my fourth grade classroom. Just like Ms. Liebisch said, a lot of what's incorporated into our reading block is using the Ready Gen curriculum, just modifying some of the text-dependent questions so they're aligned to standards, but at a higher level of thinking for our students. So what text-dependent questioning does, it allows students to demonstrate their ability to interpret the meaning behind the passage by writing an analysis and providing supporting evidence using an organizational structure. We do this every day. We collaborate while we work. We build on to each other's responses. We prove and we justify what we do by finding the text evidence to support it. Every now, then, and again, I'll even tell them, okay, you're ready. Let's make some inferences. Let's do some comparing and contrasting. So in order to do that, we then move into some thinking maps. And what thinking maps do is it just provides a visual for them so that they can correlate some of these skills that I'm asking them to do to different specific cognitive processes, such as describing, comparing and contrasting, sequencing, finding the problem and solution, and even some cause and effects. So I use thinking maps throughout the day across all different content areas to support, to build critical thinking, problem solving, comprehension, and then ultimately to make their communication skills where they feel confident and they feel secure in how they're answering, how they're responding. And it then leads and it trickles down into their writing. So I have with me some students who are gonna model just a little bit with you guys here at the end. But what I did is I took a question that we had today. This was just today's reading lesson. The question was, describe the events that occurred during the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. So I modified the question to get some higher level thinking in that would leave opportunity for more discussion and more collaboration amongst each other. And I made it to, what can you infer about the impact of the 1906 San Francisco earthquake on the people and the city? So we did this. This took, about 20 or so minutes of our reading block. It wasn't our whole entire lesson, but it was a part of it. And what they did first was they independently, on their own, used their text, which they have with you and they'll show you what they did. And here is, now I just noticed I talk with my hands and my whole body after I watch this, so I apologize. Sure, thank you. That was a good build on to what Jameer said. That was a pretty good guess. Declan?
So in my opinion, what I think an inference is an educated guess.
An educated guess, okay? Basically using the text evidence and the text details, but it won't necessarily, here's the kicker, it won't necessarily tell you in the text the biggest impact that this earthquake had on the people in the city. That's where you have to guess or infer, because the author didn't directly write that, okay? So here's what you're gonna do. I'm gonna set the timer for 5 minutes. In your reading notebook, you're gonna draw a thinking map, because in this thinking map is where you're gonna describe this San Francisco earthquake. So it doesn't matter what kind of thinking map you draw, okay? As long as you have a visual that's going to support you when you're making this inference, okay? The event that you're going to be describing, so you can make an inference, is that 1906 San Francisco earthquake. So independently, I see you in a minute, AJ, for 5 minutes, and you may get one piece of evidence down. You may get 3, okay? At least one. So from there, sure, thank you. That was a good build on to what Jameer said. That was a pretty good guess. Declan? So from there, we did a first pairs compare with a partner. And I'll show you a snippet. This is them getting an opportunity to share and compare with one partner, and it gives them an opportunity to write something down that their partner shared that they didn't have.
Okay. So 375,000 square miles in a fire. More than 3,000 people lost their lives in the earthquake and the following fire. Violent earthquakes ever recorded. The fires alone destroyed 20,000 buildings. And there's a picture of, I didn't get to see it. You said it destroyed 9,000 buildings and 36 people died. It also said that it killed 3,000 people. Those buildings that are knocked down in lots of fires. The Earth, on Earth every year, more than, on that earthquake, that. All right.
All right, and then from there, we then did a second pairs compare, which gives them, I'll introduce them in a minute, which gives them the opportunity to, again, come up with some more details based on what their partner has that they may not have. And that's what they're gonna share with you guys. You're gonna be their second pairs compare. Okay, so they brought their notebooks with them. They brought their text that they used today. They're gonna show you and explain to you the events that occurred during this great disaster. And then at the end, in class, we made a group consensus on their inference. So that was, they had to write their inference on a sticky note. And they had to infer the impact that it made on the city and the people based on the details that they found in the text. And this was their opportunity, since it was a consensus, to go around the group. They agreed with each other, they built on to each other. Some respectfully disagreed, but they had to state why, and they had to justify why. I'm gonna turn it to these lovelies who are so excited. And let me go back a slide because they're so cute, and I wanna make sure that they get the recognition that they deserve. They work hard every day in class. It's like, you should be tired by the end of the day. So they're gonna share with you that second pairs compare, and then they're gonna tell you what they inferred that the impact made. Okay, so tonight we brought AJ Goodman. We brought Jason Guan. We brought Logan Newman. We brought Sky Brewer. We brought Ruby Lerma. Grayson Simone. Amelia Davis. And Mateo Pena Cortez. All right, so I'm going to maybe move it here, and then we're going to walk around. Thank you, guys.
wasn't bad. It wasn't catastrophic. It wasn't, nobody died. It was sick. You could feel the blend of sick. I was actually playing baseball. And I'm running, all of a sudden I was just running like this. So, yeah,
You did a really great job.
They're so cute.
Sounds like you weren't quite sure about it.
3,000 people died just dying in the following fires.
good job. So this is how you do your mapping?
Yeah, and also, so I got most of my time in history, like, I was just seeing that. I didn't use as much as I wanted. So, I
So one of the questions are really
it was felt over an area of 3,331,000 square miles, more than twice the size of California. More than 3,000 people lost their lives in the earthquake and following fires.
I'm sure they are.
And the following fires. This view shows San Francisco in flames after hours.
Fourth grade friends. Sorry, just like me, I talk a lot. They could talk a lot too. I don't mean to cut you guys off by any means, kids. Okay, I appreciate you guys. You work hard. It shows every day in your learning, just like you presented to our board members. So thank you, you 8, and thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
Ms. Carter, if you would please bring your students up here. We'd love to get a picture with you. Parents, feel free to come up and get a picture if you'd like. No, you don't have to take pictures of that. Hey guys, keep smiling. Thank you, Ms. Liebisch, Ms. Carter, Ms. Glover, team that is here, parents. Thank you for making this EFGA your place to send your children, and we appreciate your support and are just so thankful that you're here tonight. Board, all of these students are in my All-Star Club, and they're a very high-performing group in my club. In fact, Jason, I remembered because he was #1 at EFGA last year, one of the top students in the entire district, but all of them are all-stars in the math club, and obviously tonight they were all-stars in reading as well. So.
Thank you, kids, for being here tonight. You were incredible. Mateo was my pair. Parents, you should be very proud. That is a smart, smart kid. And I know how proud all of your parents are of you. You kids are going places. You are our future. I would say you are incredibly lucky to have Miss Carter as your teacher. I heard her say
multiple times tonight that she appreciates you guys. She appreciates you as students, and too often as adults we don't appreciate children. And so I'm glad that you said that. We appreciate you too. Parents, we appreciate you for sharing your kids with us. We're going to move into the business portion of our meeting now. You're welcome to stay for that, but we'll take a little break in case you want to go out and maybe go to dinner and celebrate for the evening. So thank you all. Dr. Sprout, we can reconvene. I think I'm turning it over to you then to start on the jobs of the future presentation. Right. All right, thank you.
Tonight, we have two presentations that focus us on the future. The first presentation answers two questions. What are the jobs of the future for our current students, and how can we support our families in this process of guiding their children and us guiding their children towards these jobs? Our second presentation answers this question: what economic and business development will Levine see in the future? These two presentations are inextricably linked: jobs and development, and they tie directly to one of our most important goals in education, which is to prepare our future workforce. So to start us off, we have Assistant Superintendent for Instructional Leadership, Jamie Camacho, and she will be doing our jobs of the future presentation. So, Ms. Camacho.
Thank you. So President Berrigan, members of the board, Dr. Sprout, and community, thank you for the opportunity for sharing jobs of the future. And really, it's about partnership. How can we as a school district partner with parents so that we understand what kids need to know, and our parents are an expert on their child and work together to help them find the path that's right for them. And it's really about that partnership that we have together with our parents and our students. And so thinking about, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm sure you were asked that question, and hopefully you've asked your children, or you've asked a child in your life, what do they want to be when they grow up? Recently, there was research, though, where they asked 15-year-olds in the United States, what do you want to be when you grow up? And 1 in 5 couldn't answer the question. And of the kids who did answer the question, many of them cited jobs like, I want to be a police officer, a teacher, a lawyer, a doctor, which are all really great professions, but we know that within, say, for example, healthcare, there are nurses and doctors, but there's so many other jobs that encompass the career cluster of healthcare. And do our kids know all of the opportunities that are present for them? The students who were able to give a more specific answer, it was because someone in their family or someone that they were close with had that job. So how do we level the playing field for all of our students? Not just the kids who have the opportunity to see special different niche jobs. My job is a niche job. You might think, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a teacher. They might think about a principal, but do they think about something in the career that I'm currently in? They may not even know that exists. So how do we help kids along the way to know all the different jobs within that umbrella of work? And so with that, I want to ask you a question. What did you want to be when you were 10 years old? So just thinking about that for a second, what did you want to be when you were 10 years old? And now thinking about today as an adult. Thinking about the highest paying jobs that are out there, did they even exist when you were 10 years old? Especially in the area of technology, probably not. And did you even know all the different jobs when you were making those decisions for yourself and for your future? And so Dr. Sprout and I were talking about that. How do we prepare kids for the future when some of these jobs may not even exist? And so I came across this research. It's the research between Gallup and Amazon. And what they did is they came across what they call a Career of the Future Index. So what they did is they used 4 factors: salary, job growth, the opportunity of job vacancies per job seeker, as well as automation. And they looked at those things. So salary, for example, the higher the salary, the higher you are on the index. The other 3 categories are equally divided. So salary is 50% of the index out of 100. The other 3 categories are equally divided, just slightly under 17%. Job growth is pretty self-explanatory. Is the job growing or is it declining? So that's how they looked at that. Job vacancies was considered, I'll use the example of maybe an astronaut. If NASA's only hiring 10 astronauts and 100,000 kids out there want to be an astronaut, that's obviously going to be a lower opportunity because there's not as many jobs available than maybe people that might be out there wanting that position. So that's how they categorize that category. And the last one is automation. So thinking about AI and the different pieces that are coming together with technology, they really looked at, can this job be phased out over time because it can be automated? And so together those factors create that Career of the Future Index that we'll be looking at. So when we did this with parents, as Dr. Sprout mentioned, he and I have done this presentation a couple of times with some different parent groups. This is the opportunity where we get the Chromebooks out. This is an interactive opportunity. Parents can go in and begin to sort and look at different ways to look at the career index. This opportunity is sorted by all jobs. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, Jamie, I did not need to come and sit for a presentation to know that a surgeon is going to be at the top end of that. Thank you, that was very informative. So yes, it is true. This is all jobs. So this is looking at the job, the career cluster, and then you see that CFI, which is out of 100, and then you can see that last category where it's asking what is the level of education or experience that you need to have that job. So when I sort by all jobs, obviously you can see, say a physician, 0% have less than a bachelor's degree, right? So if your child wants to be a physician when they grow up, you're going to start talking to them about end in mind and what choices do they need to be able to make, what classes do they want to have, and the long-term investment that they're going to be making into their education. But we know that not all kids want to be in graduate school past college and graduate school. When I was growing up, I thought to myself, you go to high school and then you go to college and then you have your career. In this world, we know that there's different opportunities for certifications. There's opportunities for on-the-job trainings, as well as the traditional bachelor's degree, as well as jobs that require graduate and above. So talking to your kids, I know I'm a mom, I have 3 kids, they all have unique personalities, they all have unique interests and goals. And for one of my kids, he's in graduate school, that's what he wants. My middle daughter, please get off the payroll, right? Like, am I going to be able to get her to be self-sufficient? So we're talking about what is the shortest end to the means for her. She doesn't know what she wants to do yet, and she doesn't want to spend time in school until she figures that out. As a mom, I need her to be a productive citizen, right? I need her to contribute. I need her to be happy in the sense that she is working and that she's contributing. And so for us, that conversation might look a little bit different, and we'll look at some of that. So as we have our children and we're trying to help guide them, and they're each unique, thinking about that along the way. So this is sorted by a bachelor's degree. So yes, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, I do want to go to college, but I don't want to go beyond 4 years. And so here you'll see I have highlighted a financial investment analysis that is under the career cluster of finance, but it has a CFI of 98, right? So a surgeon's 100, and you own 54% of the people who currently have that job have a bachelor's degree with no other certification or no other degree needed. So that is a conversation that you may have with your child who is, yes, I'll go to school, but that's all you're going to get from me. But then what about my middle daughter who we're thinking, what are we going to do? And so here is for sub-bachelor's programs. So for kids who do not want to go through a bachelor program, it might be a certification, it might be on-the-job training, and please do not dismiss your kid if they say they want to be an elevator installer or repairer, because it is under architect and construction, and it has a CFI of 85. And currently, 94% of the people who hold that job have no bachelor's degree. So before we get judgmental with our kids, go back, look through the database, and see, is this going to help them be successful in their future? And each one of our kids are unique, and there's multiple ways for them to be successful. It's never too early to start the conversation about what you want to do when you grow up. It's okay to ask a 5-year-old that question, and it's okay that they change their mind. The conversation that we're having with parents and with our teachers, it's about getting kids to set goals for themselves, asking them what they want to do, understanding that the choices that they make, they get to make choices for themselves, and they can make choices to get further and closer to their goals. And it's okay that the 5-year-old self is different than the 10-year-old self, who's different than the 15 and 20-year-old. We can grow along with them, but getting them to think about their future self is really important, and the role that they personally play in achieving their goals. Because at the end of the day, they're going to have to do the work, and we're all here to support them along the way. And it's okay that they change, and we can change with them, but asking them the question and getting them started in that process. So I am going to show you a quick video. It was the best way I could figure out how to share this. This is a free resource through Arizona Department of Education, and it's called My Future Arizona. And this video clip is going to show a middle school student going into high school. But just so you know that when parents go in and register, kids can start taking an inventory of what they're interested in elementary school, middle school, high school, and college. It differentiates for them. It's an opportunity not only to ask you what you want to be, but what are you interested in? And then they can go in and take this assessment, and it will allow them to see what jobs pop up based off of their interest, and then they can begin to explore that. So I am going to show you a quick video. Some of our schools have already implemented this, and so with that.
Welcome to My Future AZ, and welcome to helping students prepare for their futures. My Future AZ is a free graduation and career planning tool for Arizona students. The platform empowers students to map out their career and education plan through a personalized experience. Meet Olivia, an 8th grader at a Phoenix middle school. She will be starting high school next year, so Olivia's school counselor helps her set up a profile on My Future AZ. My Future AZ will empower her to map out her career and education plan through a personalized experience catered to her interests. After creating her My Future AZ account, Olivia will be prompted to take a career assessment. She'll answer a variety of questions about what she's interested in and what she likes to do, and the assessment will recommend careers that might be a good fit for her. From there, she'll be able to explore Arizona industries and careers right at her fingertips. Once Olivia finds an industry that sparks her interest, the My Future AZ platform will help guide her to the education and training she'll need to get started in that career pathway. The platform will guide her from high school course selection all the way through post-graduation options to become a graphic designer. She has the plan she needs, as well as the exact pathway that will open doors for her future career. She'll be able to enjoy high school without the stress of figuring out what classes she needs to take. The platform also allows Olivia to document her achievements and milestones throughout her scholastic career. That way, when it comes time to send college or job applications, all of her academic highlights will be in one place. Olivia feels excited and ready for her future, since her entire education and career action plan is laid out in the My Future AZ platform. It is even connected directly with her counselor and parents, so the role models in her life can watch her achieve her goals. Visit myfutureaz.com to implement the free ECAP tool today.
So really thinking about how this initiative works with our signature programs as well. So as we've gone in and worked with our school leaders, in each one of their signature programs, they've created grade level milestones that for their unique signature program that kids should know and be able to do. And along with that, they're working on creating, many of our schools creating portfolios. So as they meet that milestone, they have evidence of what they have done, and so when they're done, they can always go in and add those things into their My Future AZ as artifacts or accomplishments that they have made in their signature programs. And of course, that can extend beyond signature programs as well. The nice thing about this program is that we want all of our kids to stay preschool through 8th grade with us here in Levine, but we know sometimes people have to move and shift, so this account would stay with them beyond just their Google account that they get here as a student here in Levine, which is nice as well. Another thing that we're looking at as with signature programs is looking at the top career clusters. So you can see that number 2 is information technology. We know that we have a coding academy at Desert Meadows. 4 is science, technology, engineering, and math. That goes into our STEM program at Rogers Ranch. Number 7, we have the arts and communication. That kind of goes into our Trailside Performing Arts Academy. But there's also some other things on this list that we don't yet have signature programs for. So as we're looking at planning for School 10 and School 11, we're looking at those jobs of the future and those career clusters to help guide us along the way so that our kids really do have opportunities here in Levine and choice for our students and for our parents to make those decisions in their schools. So those are some of the things you can see. There's business, finance, health science are some of the options that are still on the table for potential future signature programs for us. But all of our signature programs, when we look at automation, the thing that really holds us from being automated is these soft skills. So every one of our signature programs and our curriculum, making sure that our kids are having opportunities to build interpersonal relationships. They're being able to be creative, problem solvers, critical thinkers, and they're being able to communicate. Oral communication, presentations, as well as written communication. Those are the things that are not going to be automated, and those are those human pieces that we have along the way, and making sure that we're building that so our kids can adjust along the way. I want to be a baseball player, and then later on they might want to do something else. If they have these soft skills, they'll be ready. And so our next steps as we're moving forward, I'll be presenting with the admin team next week. We've already started some parent meetings and getting information out through our PTOs. This is a screenshot of our district website. It's under the parent tab, and all the different resources that I showed today are all linked there for our parents to be able to get on and to investigate those things themselves. And once again, as we grow our signature programs, thinking about jobs of the future and how we're preparing kids for college and career is a foundation to that. And with that, that ends my presentation if you have any questions.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Camacho?
No questions, but this is excellent, because like, where was this several years ago for my own kid?
Yeah.
You know? But I
They can
think
still do it.
I mean, I think it's really great, because not a lot of kids really think about that. And I was lucky enough that my own son was starting to really inquire, like, well, what are these other possibilities, and what does that job entail, and can I job shadow to see if that's really what I want to pursue for the rest of my life? So this is a great start to have those conversations and help those kids get on the right path and not, waver necessarily. So this is excellent.
Thank you.
Really helpful. I appreciate it. My oldest is starting high school, so this is great timing, and I already have it on my calendar to do with my kids.
Yeah.
So thank you. That's great.
Absolutely.
Appreciate all the effort on that and getting it in one place so we can find it. It's really
Yeah.
helpful.
Well, I am
One
trying my
thing.
third
Oh.
child. She won't.
I would like us to add a mentorship database of the parents and the community people that are in these professions. So
Nice.
get the
yeah.
exposure.
That's a
A lot of times you want to be
Definitely.
this, and then you get there like, I can't do that. I don't like that. So,
Yep.
even for our junior high kids, I really tell when I talk to kids, I tell them, starting high school, it's time. Because if you're going to do something that's going to be of any substance, they're looking back to high school, to freshman year, where you're at the principal's office, where your grades right. So having a mentorship database would be a great thing for us.
Excellent. I love that idea.
Yeah.
I know my kids at Paseo, and I don't know if other schools do this I think Dr. Seuss's birthday, when they do Read Across America, they do it as also a career and asking people of different careers to come in and read something that has to do with that and introduce their career. And so some of those events, I think, are so helpful in introducing some more careers, and maybe, like you were saying, having a database, knowing who in our community can come in and give some of that input in detail.
Yeah, if any kid wants to be an assistant superintendent of business operations, I'd be happy to talk to them.
But do they even know that exists?
Exactly.
Yes.
And then, I think about, my two kids, my husband and I do the same thing, and neither of my children would be interested in our jobs, and so they don't have exposure to a lot of other jobs.
Right.
So to have, a mentorship or just ideas of other things that they can do, this was incredibly helpful and very informative. So thank you for sharing this information with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Dr. Sprout. I think we have a guest.
We do.
Okay.
And now we turn from the future of our students to the future of Levine. And again, these two are inextricably linked. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome Christine Mackey to our meeting tonight. Ms. Mackey is the Director of Community and Economic Development for the City of Phoenix. I had the honor of working with Ms. Mackey on the recently overwhelmingly passed $500 million general obligation bond initiative for the City of Phoenix, which will help to drive our economic development as a city. I can attest to the fact that with Ms. Mackey being here tonight, we have one of the city's great leaders. And the results of her work, her thumbprint is everywhere you go in the city of Phoenix. She doesn't, probably gonna say, no, it's my team, but I can guarantee that's the presence that we have with us tonight, including a focus specifically on Levine. And so, Ms. Mackey, thank you for taking the time to be here and to talk with us about the future of Levine. And we'll turn it over to you.
My goodness, I have an introduction like that. I'll show up anywhere you want me to go. I'm there for you. So, President Berrigan, board members, Dr. Sprout, and guests, thank you so much for having me here this evening. As Dr. Sprout said, I lead the economic development strategy for the city of Phoenix. So I'm watching the presentation Assistant Superintendent just did. I can tell you at 12, I never thought I wanted to be an economic developer. That wasn't even anything I ever thought of, but it's my dream job, and I was meant to be an economic developer. So being able to find this career and move into it, it was quite by happenstance. I'm excited to see, I've had a lot of exposure to Pipeline AZ and seeing for that workforce of the future. So excited to talk to you tonight about kind of Phoenix, where we're at, what we're seeing with businesses, because I'm here to tell you this ain't your granddad's Phoenix anymore. And so I've been here my entire life and excited to tell you what's going on. So first, just start with a quick overview of Phoenix. We're 517 total square miles, 15 villages. We're a really long, narrow city, but it's important to note that we are actually half the size of the state of Rhode Island. We are, I was 17 years as an East Valley economic developer, came here about 10 years ago. It still floors me how large this city really is. Population of about 1.7 million. We have been the fastest growing city of the decade. We had about 160 new people a day into the city as we continue to grow. Really low unemployment over the last couple of years. We've hovered from 3.8 to 4.2, took a massive jump at the beginning of the pandemic, but you'll see at the end of my presentation how fast we were able to recover. One of the things that really impresses me the most on the next slide, which is our demographics, is we compare census over census. When you look at the 2010 census for the city of Phoenix, just to show you how we're changing, and we're gonna talk through how that's happening, the average household income in 2010 was $53,000. Today, just 10 short years later, it is, because this will be the 2020 census, we're 94,000. So they're increasing jobs, they're increasing in the knowledge economy. When you look at our citizens that had some college, 53% in 2010, 67% today. So I think it's indicative not only of how we are attracting knowledge economy individuals that want to come to Phoenix, but more importantly, the brain drain's really gone. Pre-2010, Texas and Arizona were number 1 and number 2 for workforce generation for Silicon Valley. Our students would graduate university, they couldn't find the jobs here they were looking for. They'd go to Silicon Valley, they'd go to Chicago, to Boston, to New York, but they'd come back at 5 years to raise their families because we're this great community where people wanted to be. Our goal over the last 10 years is to be, how do we erase that 5 years where they leave and then come back? And I think as the teams have worked together, GPEC, the Commerce Authority, our elected officials, all of you, our presidents of our universities have worked diligently to make that happen. When we look at Phoenix and why we've become this attractive market, and I get to brag a little bit today about my team, we were announced yesterday as number 1 in the country for advanced manufacturing job creation for the year, 15,000 jobs last year, bigger than any other city in the country. So really excited about where we're going there. But it's because we're this livable city. People really enjoy being in Phoenix. We can be out of doors. We have great cultural environments, great restaurants, great local, great school districts where we can educate our children. And that's what they're coming here for. And as we look at the market, you know, when I started this more decades ago than I care to admit that I started it, site selectors would ask us 3 questions. They would ask us, where am I gonna find cheap real estate? How close am I to a transportation corridor? And what are you gonna pay me to move here? Today, those 3 questions are, where's my workforce? Who's my workforce? And how much training does my workforce need? So that workforce component is absolutely key to what we're seeing here in this market. Over the last 5 years, my team has succeeded in attracting 73,000 knowledge economy jobs to the city of Phoenix. We're not counting retail jobs or hospitality jobs or construction jobs. It's not that they're not wonderful jobs, they are. We count them in a separate category. But in advanced manufacturing, in technologies, in biosciences, and healthcare, in fintech and finserv, emerging technologies, circular economy, all that you see here in front of you, those are the jobs that have been attracted into the market. I love talking about this because I grew up here, so I've been here my entire life. I remember when, and as many of you do, Levine was dirt, was farms, it was cows, it was cotton, it was corn. Chandler was the same way. Goodyear was a tire company. North Phoenix didn't exist. And so when you look back to the 5 C's of what we had and what the economy was in the past, it was the 5 C's of Arizona. Today, those are those activities that I just mentioned to you. They're in healthcare, they're in fire, the finance, insurance, and real estate. They're in technology, they're in IT, they're in manufacturing, they're in circular economy, they're in emerging technologies. But what we're talking about tonight is where we're going in the future and how we never lose our way. So, you know, I want to be respectful of time, but just a quick little story. So Arizona was built on high tech. Arizona, there was a presidential mandate that happened following World War II, and that mandate did not allow critical assets to be placed near a coast anymore. They had to be inside, so they could never be bombed like Pearl Harbor. And so our federal delegation, Rhodes and Fannin and Goldwater and others, went after those technologies to bring them back here. It brought back Sperry, it brought back Allied Signal. It brought back a little startup company called Galvin Electronics that became Motorola. It brought a really early stage startup company called Intel. And so they really worked diligently. So we were this massively aerospace and defense and high technology economy until the early 90s. And I would argue in the early 90s, we absolutely lost our way. We started focusing on call center jobs and thousands of them to keep up with the growth. It was something that we were bringing in thousands of people. We needed to keep up with that growth. And economic developers kept yelling at the wind, saying, we can't stay on economy built on growth. We have to be an economy built on something. And finally, the Great Recession happened. And when the Great Recession happened, we would issue regularly 4,000 building permits growth a month. In February of 2009, we issued 1. And people finally started to listen to the economic developers that we couldn't be an economy that was built on growth anymore. And they gave us the tools that we needed to bring back what you see today. We're a group that's not going to let us ever lose our way again, and we're always looking to that future, which you see in front of you, and I'm going to go a lot more in detail. When you look at Phoenix's competitive advantage today, that's what you see in front of you. It's big data, it's pharma, it's robotics, it's advanced manufacturing, it's semiconductor, it's autonomous vehicles, it's aerospace and defense. It's these economies, these jobs that are really driving the activity. And all of our kids, and I thought Assistant Superintendent did such a great job of talking about the fact all of our kids aren't meant to be in these fields. But when we think about the economic impact, the economic multipliers, the jobs that assist these jobs, you look at advanced manufacturing, for every job they create between 3 and 6 additional jobs that are those jobs that some of our other kids want. So we focus on those knowledge economy jobs which bring all the other jobs along with them. But I guess to quote Wayne Gretzky way too many times, we're skating to where the puck's going. We're not staying where we're at today. We're skating to those jobs that the assistant superintendent was talking about, whether it's in smart mobility, whether it's in cyber, whether it's on augmented reality, whether it's in artificial intelligence, sustainability, new pharma, space. Most recently, we located the HQ2 of Blue Origin to 24th Street in Camelback. But I tell you all this by way of saying this is Levine's future. Levine is a blank slate right now in its economic development. It's a blank slate in the market that you are attracting. As we look at moving forward, these are the companies that are looking at Levine. They're looking at the 202 South Mountain Technology Corridor. And we're working diligently alongside the village, alongside the community, the Planning Commission. Poor board member Abig has heard me ad nauseum have to talk about this, and you should know how much she has fought for Levine. She has fought for our students to ensure that big box distribution isn't what you get. You get the technology companies, you get what your students are looking for their future career. As we look at the future, when we started, my team started working together in 2014, about 2% of our book of business was internationally related, had foreign direct investment, or were internationally owned companies. Today it's 35% of our book of business. They're out of Asia, they're out of the UK, they are Mexico, they're Canada. They are a wide range of where these companies are coming from. I had the privilege of meeting with Superintendent just recently, and we were talking about where the companies that we're touring here in Levine, where they're coming from, and we are getting ready to announce a major Japanese company here on the South Mountain Science and Technology Corridor probably in February, and it's a company that is focused on technology. And that's what started our conversation about the jobs of the future and what was happening in Levine. And even in the languages, the secondary languages that you're teaching in the school districts that you have to match those companies. We're in North Phoenix, as you know, the Asian languages are significantly being spoken now in some of our companies, whether it's in Mandarin, whether it's in Chinese, whether it's in Japanese, and other languages that are there. And our school districts are helping us creating those immersion programs, but just thinking about those areas. Now, honing in specifically on Levine, it's been our most recent employment corridor, our 15th employment corridor that's been added. And as an economic developer, I got to work on building the 202 in the East Valley. If you'd ever told me that I would work on the building of the 202 in the West Valley, I would have laughed you out of the room. And yet here I am today with a phenomenal opportunity to get to assist in Phoenix in moving forward the Levine that we want and the Phoenix that we want. When we look at what we're doing today. We're working with property owners. We're ensuring that things get rezoned with Board Member Abig's guidance and expertise. We're ensuring that properties get rezoned from residential. I will share with you, you were well on your way to becoming a bedroom community until about 10 years ago, until Board Member Abig and other village planning commissioners and city council members said, we're not gonna let that happen. And we branded the South Mountain Science and Technology Corridor. Not that we don't need great residences, we do, but we need a balance of jobs so that our children can stay here, our citizens can stay here and work and find the jobs that they're looking for. That development community is finding those sites, they're acquiring those sites. I'm gonna show you some of them in just a minute. And the vision for this area is a knowledge intensive employment corridor that supports high value jobs. Housing is still critical. We're gonna ensure that that keeps coming, and also the retail that I'm gonna talk to you about in a minute as well. But we expect 50 to 80,000 jobs through this corridor at ultimate build out. And the ultimate build out of this corridor is probably 25 to 30 years from now, but we're setting the stage for what's happening. When we look at what we want, the desired employment we want, not that big box distribution isn't wonderful. There will be an Amazon box sitting on my doorstep when I get home tonight. There is virtually every night of my life. And there are great locations for those, but we have citizens in Phoenix and Laveen and Estrella and in this area that are driving to the East Valley to those knowledge economy jobs today because they don't exist here. And so we are going to gain our citizens 2 hours of their lives back every day by getting those jobs to come into this area. When we look at the South Mountain Technology Corridor, where we look at the predominant portion of the jobs is really the west side through this area of Laveen. It is in Dove Ranch, the 202 Business Center. It's on the IDM properties. It's the Freeway Commerce Center. It's developers who came in thinking they were going to build big box distribution, and working with the village and working with us and working with the city council members really identified Laveen as this phenomenal place to do business. As I mentioned, we have taken a number of projects through. There is no more residential land zoned on the west side of the 202. It is now zoned for knowledge economy tech parks. When we look at our trade radiuses and we look at Baseline and the 202, we look at kind of those trade radiuses in the 1, 3, and 5 mile. So we're recruiting, because those knowledge economy companies, those companies and our citizens they can't just have a business park that's located in the middle of no place. They need the amenities and services that are there. And retail in Laveen is going strong. Those things that you have to leave Laveen for today, we are working diligently to make sure that you don't have to. I remember my first budget meeting in Laveen with cowbells. I've got my own cowbell now. Every Laveen meeting I'm ready for, I got my own cowbell. And they were giving the chair a go about no more pizza restaurants in Laveen. If you bring any more pizza, you're gonna be wearing pizza into Laveen. And so I got up as the economic developer and I said, I would ask the community one favor of me. If you don't want pizza restaurant, quit eating pizza. They come because you're eating there. Show the restaurants what it is that you want, and that's been working. And we are making announcements with Board Member Abig and the village member Hurd. We're making some really great announcements in the really near future. Laveen Town Center is moving forward next. That is the same developer as Desert Ridge Marketplace and Tempe Marketplace and Happy Valley Town Center. They have acquired the east side of the 202 on the south side of Dobbins, and they have a 500,000 square foot redevelopment that's getting ready to go forward. It's 90 total acres. It'll be built in 2 different phases. And while my slide says 375,000 square feet of retail, they did adjust our development agreement. You'll be very pleased to know that it will be more than 500,000 square feet of retail. They will be restoring the historic Hudson Farmhouse. We took what we called our restaurateur tour and took a bunch of local named restaurateurs, whether it was Sam's Fox's group, it was Press Coffee, it was all of these different out here on a restaurant tour about 6 months or a little bit ago. I lose track of time. And we got on the bus, they're like, I have no idea why we're going to Laveen. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. When we got done, they were all fighting over the Hudson Farmhouse and where they were going to be opening, whether it's a Flower Child or whether it's a Press Coffee or whether it's a different that's here. So it's about a $150 million project that will be starting construction here towards the end of. They'll start their horizontal construction towards the end of 24 and vertical in 25. when we look and we kind of marry assistant superintendent's presentation and mine together, it's like, how can we make sure that we have equitable economic development for all? How can we look at all of our kids and ensure that all of our kids get a great job moving forward? I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but Mayor Gallego and the city did apply for a $1 million Bloomberg grant, which we run, that created a mobile career unit. The mobile career unit is taking jobs into the community and doing interviews in our vehicle's almost done. It's a recreational vehicle. We're using a temporary vehicle right now, taking the jobs to where the families are, doing interviews right in the field and getting these jobs moving forward. We're building a new job center called Innovation 27 on North I-17. But I think what is most important is exactly what you're talking about. The board member Watkins brought up a minute ago about getting exposure through mentorships. They might take an assessment test and they find out what's really entailing that job. If you found out what it's really like to be an economic development director, I think you'd run screaming. Only because you've so many nights and so many weekends, and it's got to be something that you feel passionately about. And so getting them that activity and that chance, and so getting with our students earlier, and as economic developers, as your economic development team, we'd love to work with Levine School District and get those mentors set up. Like what am I trying to say? Where we all go, gosh, I just drew an absolute blank. Shoot the conductor, the train just jumped the track. Field trips for our kids. We did it most recently. We applied for a grant. We brought about a dozen Cartwright middle school students to the Phoenix Bioscience Corps. They got to meet with the medical school students that were there, and they got to see them, people that looked just like them in medical school, and talk to them. And what we got as feedback from these kids about 3 weeks ago is they had no idea what they could do, and now they were so excited about this field trip and where they were going forward. And the Cartwright superintendent sent us a note saying that all of their field trips will be judged by this one. I talked to Dr. Sprout about that, and we engaged right away about wanting to be able to create field trips for your kids as well. Again, bringing the students on earlier, removing the digital divide, which we've been working successfully. Dr. Sprout and I met about the Affordable Connectivity Program and making sure that we can get deep in there, which we're working on together. Keep making sure our educational partners are nimble and removing barriers. I think it's important to note that the rest of the United States is just getting back to pre-pandemic level in their workforce. We are now at 140% of our jobs are back in this market. I think you'll see in Levine a significant diversification of your businesses, thinking, where are things going? Things are changing so quickly. You know, every year, every half a year, every year and a half, I find companies that we're working on recruiting from around the world that I didn't even know that type of company or technology existed a year earlier, and what we're getting looks at. So close partnerships. We've always been, as Dr. Sprout said, he participated on the Phoenix Bond Committee, and he helped to help guide where the money would be spent, so we make sure that we have the future we want. When we look at nationwide, there's 10.3 million job openings, but only 6 million in a workforce to fill those jobs. So really, Phoenix's advantage is that workforce. Phoenix's advantage is those kids that are coming up right behind us and are looking for those next new jobs. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today and to talk about where Phoenix is going, and look forward to partnering with you for a long time to come on creating the Levine that we want, with the jobs that we want, with the technology we want, and the types of companies we want that are invested in the community. And so with that, President, I'd be happy to take any questions your board might have.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for yet another informative presentation this evening. We all eat this information up and really appreciate you taking the time to be here and make us feel important in Levine. We love the city of Phoenix, and more specifically, we love Levine. We love where we are at. We love this district and all of the incredible things that happen here. And we think that that's an incredible selling point as well for being along the 202 corridor there. I personally am very excited that Vestar is coming into that Hudson House property. I know that Vestar, they do not build and then sell their property to somebody. They keep the properties that they purchase and develop and take pride in them, and you can see that in their 40-some developments across the Phoenix area. So glad that you were able to work with Vestar and get them in there. Any comments or questions?
as always, thanks for watching out for Levine and all the effort. I mean, with 15 villages, it's really impressive the amount of time that Ms. Mackey and her team can put into Levine, so always appreciate that.
Thank you, Board Member. Levine is critical to us. Levine is Phoenix's future. So, and President, if I might,
Yes.
when I met with Dr. Sprout, I'd just like to give him a compliment. We were talking about the companies that are now choosing Levine, and these foreign companies, Japanese, and there's a Korean company and others that are choosing. And he immediately volunteered to meet with their leadership and their families to help them select the school that was right for them in Levine. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. Not everybody always volunteers their time as quickly as he did, and it was within seconds of me mentioning that any way he could be of help in meeting with the families, he was very anxious and engaged to do that. So thank you, Dr. Sprout, for that.
That's good to know. He's that kind of guy. Any other comments or questions? All right. Well, thank you again for being
Thank you for
here
your
tonight.
time.
Very good. Okay, we are on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we have no action items, so we are on to comments from the board. Tonight, in your comments, I would like you to include what you thought you wanted to be when you grew up. Ready?
All right.
Go.
A teacher, and I was,
Yeah.
so, not currently, but
Yay!
yeah.
Yay, teachers!
And yeah, just as always, appreciate everyone's work. I was just thinking as we went through the superintendent's report, each thing that was mentioned, whether it's Posadas or the art grants or anything, the hours and hours and hours of work that go into each thing that gets a little 10-second blurb here, we know that there's so much work going on behind the scenes and going above and beyond. So thanks to everyone who's making all these great things happen.
Thank you. Dr. Watkins?
Wanted to be Jeff Sprout's boss.
Before you even met Jeff Sprout. Well, you are, yay.
I honestly knew in 4th grade I wanted to be an optometrist.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I was blind and they put glasses on me and I was like, you can do this for people? That's what I want to do. So I'll be honest, I got to college and I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this. And I changed majors a couple times, but I was like, I know my calling was to do what I'm doing. So I had great mentors, and that's why I really pressed the point of we gotta have mentors, let them see what your day-to-day is, make sure that's what they wanna do. I had a bunch of colleagues in med school who wind up not liking their career, and I'm like, you spent 8 years and you don't like what you're doing. I'm like, that's tough, that's very difficult, so. But I'm just grateful, I mean, you know, you see the full circle of this, the development, congratulating the board for what we do, I mean, it's just a great community to be involved in, very grateful.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson?
I went back and forth between nursing and teaching, and I was teacher. So, but my daughter knew at age 3 she wanted to be a nurse, and she just had her white coat ceremony yesterday to be in the nursing program. But anyway, Happy New Year. Welcome back, everybody. And hard to believe we're halfway through this year already.
It's crazy. Okay, well, I wanted to be a doctor or a waitress. I was neither of those things. Service-oriented, I think, is the theme there, I guess. I'm not sure. But I am honored to be able to do the work that I do. I never would have thought that this is where I'd end up. So I would just say thank you to my fellow board members for the vote of confidence and allowing to serve as president again. Appreciate that. And just with being the board members month and difference makers, you all are difference makers. I continue to be proud of the board that we have here. Maybe someday we'll get a 5th again.
That's how good we are, we don't even need it.
Right, that's how good we are. We don't even need a 5th one, whatever. It's an honor to serve with you guys. And then Dr. Watkins, you continue to impress me in not just the fact that you do the work here in Levine and we're one of the first, and you have such a service-oriented and a community-oriented, and saying that you were supporting 40 women who needed updates and probably couldn't afford that. It's amazing to call you a colleague of mine, and I just appreciate what you do for our community. I said it before, I love this district, I love everything you guys do. Not every district feels this good, and every time I come to a board meeting or visit a school, I feel better than good, and I just love being here. So, thank you all for everything you guys do.
President Berrigan, can I add
Yes,
two things? One,
absolutely.
thank you to both of you for serving in your positions
No
and
problem.
continuing to serve in them and taking on the extra role
No problem.
for this highly paid volunteer position.
We get
And-
double.
Yeah, you get double.
Yes.
That's awesome. And also, I know when I was talking to Chris before she came to her presentation, she said she comes to a lot of school board meetings and she's never seen the classroom spotlight and how cool that was, and just she thought that was really great, and she doesn't see that at other school districts. So it is a great thing that we get to include our families and celebrate with them too.
Thank you for adding that.
Thank you.
Okay, our next board meeting is February 7th, 2024. I'll see you guys then. Let's adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody.